Okay, we're going to do an example. We're going to use JDoodle and we're going to write some Java programs. This is the program we're going to write. We're going to write a Java program to calculate to calculate and print the area of a rectangle with sides 10 and 15 inches. In this case, we're not going to ask the user for any input. We're just going to hard code the values, side 1 of 10, side 2 of 15. Then we're going to calculate the area by doing area equals side 1 times side 2. And then we're going to print that out using the system.out.println. So let's jump in and do that. So I'm going to be using the jdoodle.com browser-based Java REPL for my examples. You can use this. I think it's probably going to be the best approach for you. If you would rather use an IDE on your computer, you can use Visual Studio, you can use Eclipse, you can use NetBeans, any of those that you want. There are plenty of tutorials out there to help you figure out which one to use. I'm going to use jdoodle.com. So I've already created an account and logged in to jdoodle.com. So now when I'm ready to create a solution, I can just come up here on the language, click Java. I get this dialog to create a new project. You can have three options here. You can create, we can just leave the Java version on the default. We're going to use single file projects. We will do multi-file projects later, but for now, we're going to use single file projects, which means all of our code is going to be in a single Java file. Then you can start with an example. This gives you a little bit of boilerplate code. You're going to get the class and the main definition, so you don't have to type those out every time. I think this is probably the way to go. You can start with an empty project as well. JDoodle also has an AI built in. You get some free use of this AI that you can actually give it a prompt and it will generate code for you. This is not what we're going to do in this class. We're going to be writing all of our own code, not using AI. If you are using the AI to write the code, you might get code that runs, but you're not going to learn anything. So in our class, we're always going to write the code from scratch with our own hands. So I'm going to start with an example here. Click Start Coding. I then get the JDoodle UI. This is the example. It's got some comments in it. Everything we see here between the slash asterisk and the asterisk slash, this is all comments. This is just there to comments are just exactly that. They're comments that you can write to leave yourself a note or to describe what the code is doing. You see that we get the public class and the public static void main defined for us. And then in this case, we have some very basic math, a couple of variables and a print line statement. Okay. This is basically the program that we want to multiply by the rectangles. Okay. So we can just go ahead and say, we could modify this. I'm just going to delete this because I want to type this out because we need to be typing code in order to get practice using that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to delete all these comments because we don't need them. And then I'm going to delete everything that's in between the class here. So I have the class named my class, opening bracket and the closing bracket. And then I have public static void main, opening bracket, closing bracket. Then I'm going to start typing. So the first thing I want to do is define two variables, side one, side two. They're going to be integers, side one, and I'm going to assign a value of 10, semicolon at the end of every line. Side two equals 15, semicolon. So I've now defined my variables, side one, side two. Now to calculate the area, I want to multiply them together and create a third variable that we'll call area. Area will also be an int because I'm using integer values for side one and side two. If I take an integer times an integer, I'm always going to get an integer. So I can just define int area equals side one times side two, semicolon. Make sure you get those semicolons in there. So now that it's done, I want to output it to the console. So I use that using this statement system.out.println. And then I put a value in here. So I'm going to say the area is, and then I'm going to concatenate that with area. And then put my semicolon at the end. Now, if I run this by clicking the execute button, if we did it right, we'll get the result of our we'll get the result of our calculation. Okay. If I didn't do it right or I made a mistake, I'll get a compile error here. So for example, if I leave the semicolon off of one of the lines, so let's see what it does. I'm going to get an error statement that says I'm expecting a semicolon. Okay. Um, so it's got some helpers here. You can run a debug with the AI. Will kind of help you. Depending on the errors, this might help you work through that. The error messages are usually pretty descriptive. This says, "Hey, in my class.java, that's this class, line 4, that's what this :4 means. So this means line 4. So right here on line 4, we see that we're missing the semicolon. It says error, semicolon is expected, and then it gives you a little notation. This little caret mark is where the compiler thinks the error is. These error messages from the compiler are usually going to be pretty good. They're not always exact. Sometimes the mistake you made might be in the line before this one, and the compiler is just not sure where the error is, but most of the time it's going to get it pretty right. So all I have to do is come in and put in the semicolon back on line 4, then I can execute that again, and my program should run again. Okay, I could also do things like I could make a spelling mistake, like I could use print line. This is an invalid statement because print line is not actually the method I'm using, it's print ln. So if I run this, I should get an error that says that's an unrecognized function. Cannot find symbol, system.out.println. See, it's saying right here, method.println, we don't know what that is. Okay, the compiler says, I don't know, we're not sure how to do that. Okay. So we can come in and fix that, and then my program will run again. Okay. When I'm done with my program, I want to save it. So we can go ahead and save that. I can name the project. We'll call it Simple Rectangle Solver. Okay. And we save that. You always want to save your work. If you leave this screen without saving it, you're going to lose your work. So always make sure that you're saving. Okay, so that is saved. Now I can come back and continue to work on it. Always save it whenever you leave the program, whenever you make changes, save all the time. Save all the time. Every time you run it, save it. There's an option here where you can where if you saw that, you can actually mark it so that when you save it the first time, you have auto save whenever the code executes. That's probably a pretty good habit to be in. Okay. All right. So now that it's saved, we can keep going. The when you write your code and you submit it to Canvas to be graded for your assignments, you're going to want to submit this code. You can do that in one of two ways. You can either submit a share, so you can click this button to get an editable share, and then when you do this, you can take this URL, https://www.jdoodle.com/A8T60. You can share this. This is the link that you would upload to Canvas as your solution. And then once I get this, then I can see your code. I'll be able to load up your code in JDoodle. You can do that as an editable. You can also do that as a non-editable. Okay, using this other button. There may be a limit on the number of editable shares you can do. So either one of these will work. You just got to make sure that that the code is visible. I highly recommend that when you submit that link, that before you submit it, you open up that link in a private browser tab, incognito mode in Chrome, or private browsing in Safari, whatever you're using, to make sure that link, that I'm going to be able to see that link without being logged into your JDoodle account. So make sure that link is working. You can also download the file to a .java file. So if you click this download button, save to local file, then we see that I got a download my class.java. I can then, if I prefer to, I can upload this .java file to Canvas as well if you're having trouble with the link. So either the link to your JDoodle solution or an upload of the .java file. Either one will be accepted for the assignments. Okay, and when you're done here, you can just go back. You click this icon. You go back to the main menu or to the main screen for JDoodle. You can start another program. You can also find your projects here if you go to the dashboard. I clicked on the B here, which is for me, and I can click and I can come in and click on my projects, and then I can see I have the simple rectangle solver here. So if I'm working on something and I need to stop and come back and work on it later, I can save it and then come back here and load it up and open it in the code editor again. Okay. All right. So that's a quick intro to JDoodle. That's the end of this video. We're going to do a couple more examples in subsequent videos that you should be able to find on Canvas.